Hello everyone, welcome back. So today I wanted to talk about making your own magical year. So oftentimes we talk about the wheel of the year, which is awesome, don't get me wrong, I do include that. But to make a complete magical year, this is something that I am starting to incorporate as we're getting close to 2023. I decided to actually make the effort to make a complete magical year and not just the wheel of the year. So here's how I'm doing it. So the point of a magical year for me is to point out all of the days that I want to make sure to have something prepared for that day or that season. So to start off with, I have the wheel of the year. Now, each year I usually have a slightly different emphasis. As I'm aging and getting a little bit more mature, I am starting to settle on certain things. Samhain is always going to be the ancestors. I have a tradition that we've been doing for several years now, and so it's just kind of growing off of that, but it's always going to be death and the ancestors, visiting graves, trick-or-treaters, carving pumpkins, and you know, all of that. And so what gods I honor at that time are going to change. I don't follow the wheel of the year being central to a pregnancy. That isn't something that is ever really a part of my life. So I don't do that. It's not the rebirth of the sun at this time of the year as we're approaching Yule, obviously. But, you know, I am adjusting it so that it's not centered around something that is not really relevant in my life. So then comes the next point, which is the magical days for you. So these can be secular holidays, birthdays, whatever days that are sacred to you. So for myself, I will include my birthday. I am one of those people that my birthday is still special because it means I survived another year. So it's a big deal. Obviously, my anniversary. We got married this year, so that's gonna be a slightly different day. We've now moved our day because we got married on a different day than when we started dating. And then also obviously would have my husband's birthday and my family's birthdays and also some other holidays. Like some people absolutely despise modern day Valentine's Day. I like it. I think it's fun. I like him to get me flowers and we exchange boxes of chocolates and we usually have a date night and go out to dinner and whatever. And to me, that's a fun thing to do. I don't think it's a bad thing. And so that's one of my days that I'm like, yep, I'm going to make sure to do something for that. Another thing you might want to include in your magical year, which is what I'm doing, is to take time to write down the changing in the zodiac. Now, I'm focusing on the sun as it goes through the year, and so I don't really do it for the moon much, but some people like to do that. It's just very constant. Like every 2.5 days it changes. So like, it's a lot to keep track of, but some people really like to do that, so you could also do that as well, but I'm just focusing on the sun. And I'm also not going super hardcore onto it. Some people want to do it the exact time and it changes every year and whatever. I like to generalize things, so I, much like the wheel of the year, it is that day of the calendar. I don't care if technically the autumn equinox falls on the 23rd or whatever. I'm still celebrating it on the 21st. Same with the change in the zodiac. So every 21st of the month is when you would welcome in the new one and work with those energies that come up. And so kind of research those, have some ideas of spells and stuff you might want to include. And then the very last step is to include the moons. Now, having been able to work from home, I am slowly being able to actually honor the moon phases. And so because of that, next year I am planning on actually doing things for the full and the new moons, so that will be going on my calendars. Now the thing is, some calendars will include that on their own. You don't necessarily have to go buy a witchy calendar, and there are plenty of apps available, but just be aware sometimes they're not the most helpful. So I have a moon app. It is usually the one I go to. The problem is I don't trust it for very far in the future. I had planned out for this year, 2022, that I would write down all of the days of the full and the new moons. And so I went through the app, went through the like future things coming, and then it literally ended up being super off within a few months. And I was like, okay, no, that's not gonna work. Because I had written them all out and put them on my calendars, and then it was like, oh. So that was a lie. So I feel like if you went with a more established place for it, again, a lot of calendars come with it automatically, but if yours doesn't, because there's quite a few that don't, there are almanacs galore. Farmer's Almanac is going to probably have it. Also, Llewellyn has a number of almanacs that will also probably have it, and their calendar will have it. But yeah, that's one of those things I'm like, ugh, such pain, but I want to have that planned so that I can kind of keep in mind, it's like, okay, it's March. The full moon is going to be on this day, and the new moon is on this day, so that way I know that I need to start prepping mentally to have time set aside for those days. And usually I will try and plan of like a ritual that I want to do around that time. So like I usually will plan my full and new moon rituals about a week in advance and have everything laid out like a day or two beforehand just to make my life easy. Same with any of my sacred days. The entire magical year, I will set my stuff aside and have it pre-planned and ready to go, so that day of, when you're going to actually have the time to do your ritual, you're not scrambling to get everything put together and be like, oh, well, I actually don't have the ingredients I need, or I actually don't know what I want to do, and like the executive dysfunction kicks in. So I like to have it planned out in advance so that you can actually just sit down and go do it. So I hope this gave you some ideas of a way that you could plan out your magical year as we're getting close to the end of this year. Of course, we still have a little bit more to go. We have the rest of November and December, but this is when I start my planning and prepping time for the coming year, so that I'm ready January 1st to kickstart, which actually is one of my sacred days, is January 1st. Because it's the calendar new year, and I don't care. I still honor that as my actual new year. Some people don't, they move it to Samhain or to Yule. I just celebrate 13 days of Yule, and then it ends on January 1st. So anyways, I hope this gave you some ideas. I would love to hear what you do to make your year magical. If you just do the Wheel of the Year, if you have other sacred days that you include, whether they are secular or just for your family, I'd love to hear about them in the comments down below. Thank you to my patrons. I will have their names here on the screen if you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content. It is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.